Hey there! Welcome back to Now Showing, where we conversate about social controversies. Morgan Skalski here with one of the most well-known American philosophers and feminists, Judith Butler. Today we'll be getting into queer theory and the sexual spectrum, while also getting to know Judith's story and journey into feminism and philosophy. Let's get into it. Tell us about your background.
So I was born on the magical day of February 24th, 1956 in Cleveland, Ohio, to a Jewish family. Both of my parents chose careers that helped improve the society around them. My mom working in fair housing, thus advocating for everyday people from discrimination that may stop them from getting a home. My dad, however, just wanted to help improve society's breadth, I guess, and took on the dental path. From my childhood to my teenage years, I attended Hebrew school and special classes on Jewish ethics. I was pretty talkative as a kid, so as punishment, my rabbi from my local synagogue forced me to take a philosophical ethics class. Much to his dismay, this class actually inspired me to become the outspoken feminist, philosopher, and queer theorist I am today. As a Jew, I was also taught it was ethically imperative to speak up, which further pushed my ideologies that I later developed.
Tell us more about your educational background.
So after attending Bennington College, I studied philosophy at Yale University, receiving my PhD in 1984. Most of my training was focused on German idealism, phenomenology, and the work of social change at the Frankfurt School. Oh no, I lost it. We'll edit that out. I then taught at many universities, including Wesleyan, George Washington, Johns Hopkins, as well as the University of California, Berkeley, where I am currently the Maxine Elliott Professor of Comparative Literature since 1993.
Please do a brief elaboration on what exactly queer theory is.
So for this presentation, I'd actually like to get into my involvement in the sexual spectrum, or in other words, queer theory. As we know, queer theory is almost impossible to actually define. Still, it can be summarized as exploring the oppressive power of dominant norms, particularly those relating to sexuality, on those who do not live according to those social norms. As most don't use the term queer theory nowadays, it's often referred to as a sexual spectrum, derived from the original Kinsey spectrum.
What are your goals or beliefs within the feminist movement?
So I've become pretty well known for being the feminist who argued that the mistaken feminism is a binary view of gender relations. Most importantly, I aim to break the supposed links between sex and gender so that gender and desire can be flexible and free-floating. The idea of identity with these aspects as a performance, not an essence, is one of the foundations of queer theory. So I like to explore the production of identities such as homosexual, heterosexual, and the limiting nature of identity categories. To me, an identity category results from specific exclusions or concealments, and thus a site of regulation.
How have you applied these goals throughout your career?
So in my career, I've written many books, but for this stance, one of the most notable would be Bodies That Matter or Undoing Gender. As Bodies That Matter exemplifies that sex seeks to clear up readings and supposed misreadings of performativity that view the enactment of sex and gender as a daily choice. Undoing Gender reflects on gender, sex, and sexuality. In this piece, I noted that choosing gender is performed without one being conscious of it, but it does mean this performativity is automatic or mechanical. We have desires that do not originate from our personhood, but rather from social norms. A social norm from the LGBTQ community is whether they will be accepted or if their desires differ from normality.
Do you have any lasting thoughts or comments before we finish?
Beyond identifying as a philosopher, queer theorist, I also am a member of the LGBTQ community. Although I believe that feminists should not try to define women and should focus on providing an account of how power functions, and shapes our understandings of womanhood, not only in society at large, but also within the feminist movement. I still classify myself as a third wave feminist. I believe that the time is now to question and redefine the conventional ideas around one's identity.
Awesome. That's it for today, folks. Thanks again for tuning into Now Showing, where we conversate about social controversies.